Welcome to episode 6 of Beyond the Product. Today we're talking about work-life balance.
What is work-life balance? Because I sure don't know what that is.
Jason,
All jokes aside, let's get into
we struggle,
it.
so we can talk about it.
Episode 6, work-life balance. Is it real? I think it's important to discuss kind of like our goal when we first started. When we started the business, one of the main goals when we wanted to go out on our own was I didn't want to be on call anymore. I didn't like leaving all the time. I wanted to be home. I wanted to raise the kids on the farm.
With all that free time.
You
thought
because when I started our own
exist.
business, we can make our own schedules.
Yep.
And what do you? It didn't work out that way.
Yeah,
it didn't work out that way.
Struggle, the reality of starting a business.
And I think I might upset a few people here, but for us, there was no work-life balance. It was work, and it definitely had an impact on our relationship.
Wait, what?
It had an impact on our relationship.
What happened? I'm just kidding.
God.
No. It was tough. Yeah, it definitely puts a strain on your relationship because the work life balance is more work for not much life. No balance there with burnout.
It was all the unexpected things, like if you compare a job to running your own business, like the one thing I learned right away was at the end of the day when I was working, at the end of the day, I was done.
Yeah, you could shut your brain off to anything revolving around work.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get this engine running today. Be back tomorrow.
Unless you were on call that week, which that was the week you hated the most.
Yep. And being on call, I mean, if you don't know, if we would go eat at a restaurant or something like that, I had to take another vehicle. It was you just never knew when a call would come and you had to leave. And you're either going to the docks or wherever you were going to go. You were going to be gone. Keep your offshore bag in your truck and keep it clean, keep it packed. And I didn't want that anymore. But once we started the shop, it didn't take us long to realize that we were in that shop 18 hours a day, if not more. And then once you're done in the shop and you go home, you're still thinking about work.
In our case, our home was at work.
And you had to deal with all the other things outside of the actual just building something in the shop. When it came to customer service, when it came to all of the background stuff that I didn't know about when we started the shop. Like I knew about it, but I didn't know about it. Does that make sense?
I think we were mostly focused on the product or what we were going to sell, not beyond the product. Which
Absolutely.
Is why this podcast is called what it's called.
Right. And I mean, right away, weekends were gone.
Right.
There was no
long hours, lots of sacrifices, all the fun things. I mean,
we gave up team roping.
Yeah, team roping was the passion and hobby we had for years. I mean, that's
how long? Because we tried to keep it going, and that was, would you say about? It was probably a year in when it was like, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah, when we moved to Wisconsin in 2018. We team roped for about another year and 2 years, maybe, but it gradually just got less and less and less and less. And then, I sold my horse. You still have yours retired now, but we sacrificed that. That was something we lived and breathed and thought about all day at our job, watched videos, team roped after work every day of the week.
Yep.
It was what we breathed.
And I would say that was one of our big sacrifices in the beginning.
Yeah, that was
realizing that, okay, this hobby that we have.
It's taking all our money.
It was taking all our money.
Make money.
And it was taking, more importantly, it was taking all of our time
Time. Yeah.
because we couldn't focus. We couldn't focus on trying to build the business and trying to improve and grow as team ropers and get
Right.
better and be competitive. Um, and that sacrifice, we needed money, and it was about a year in. We needed money,
Yeah. A couple years in, I'd say. But yeah, we needed money. We knew
and you sold your
our
head horse.
yeah our money that we brought in, we were gonna put back into the business because we knew we needed better tools. We needed better. We
Everything.
need. Yeah. I mean,
You were.
everything.
I mean,
We
it
could
was.
not be just blowing the money on a hobby at that time. We
Right.
had bigger goals in mind.
And we couldn't, like, we weren't paying ourselves. It was, the business was kind of like paying the bills, like the electric bill, but there was no extra money. There was less extra money than when we were working full time jobs. The thing about when I was working a full time job is I could make overtime. I mean, it was a simple, hey man, y'all got extra work? We always have extra work, you know. So we could do overtime, and then that overtime money was our team roping money, so we could put into there. Once we started the new business, um, that we didn't have that option anymore. It all depended on sales, right?
Right.
It all depended on um, making sales, making product, if there was going to be any extra money. When most of the time there wasn't.
Right. So we cut that out. We sacrificed team roping.
That was our first. That was the first sacrifice,
Yeah.
and then we kind of touched on it already, but we lost our weekends.
Yep. And then, so we also have 3 kids.
We have 3 kids.
And so we had one kid well, 2 kids actually when we first started the business. And now we have 3 kids. And definitely the family time, we get them involved as much as we can in the shop. But, obviously the fabrication shop, welding shop isn't necessarily the most safe place in the world to have your kid running around. But we balanced that pretty well. But
I feel when you're in the beginning, I would give yourself. If I'm just gonna base it off of our personal experience, I would give yourself 2 years. And realizing for those 2 years, it is a grind every day. And when I mean a grind, I'm not saying like you're out there digging ditches every day. It's not always like physical labor that you're doing, but it's all the behind the scenes stuff that you're trying to get in order. Sometimes it's taking a Saturday and a Sunday just to add some more shelving in the shop or do maintenance on some of the equipment because you couldn't do it during the week. It it overwhelmed you, and I think you need to have a partner that understands that. So if it's your husband, if it's your wife, they need to be on the same page because it couldn't have.
sharing your goals, sharing what you want to get accomplished is super important.
Yeah, because if you're not on the same page, it's going to be even tougher than it's already going to be. Um, and that we were fortunate there. We knew what the idea was. We knew that we wanted, that we were building this, and that we had to put the time in and put the efforts in. But it doesn't mean it came at a sacrifice, especially with the kids, because we would basically try to shut down in the evenings for dinner time. And the whole time, so you're coming inside the house. That was the time with the kids. We did have a babysitter for a little while that would stay with the kids. Then we would go in, have dinner with the kids, hang out, talk, maybe play a game or two, a board game or something like that. Try to do something, but it was hard, and they could definitely tell.
Yeah.
I remember when someone had asked Austin, "So, what do you and your daddy like to do?" And Austin had said, uh, "My daddy works in the shop."
Yeah.
And as simple, I don't think, but that's how he viewed it, and it did affect me when he had said that.
Hmm.
My daddy works in the shop. why didn't he say, oh, my daddy team ropes, or my daddy, oh, me and my daddy go fishing, or it was none of, it was a work life balance issue. But I don't, when I look back on it now, I don't think it could have been done any differently because there was no one else to do the work. We had to do all the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads into when you're doing all the work. And when I say all the work, Miranda, help me out here. Like, it's, look, like the creative and the building something with your hands in your shop, that in my mind is almost the easy part. You go to school, you take some welding, let's say it's welding. You take some welding classes, you take some tests, you get some certs. You know how to weld, you know how to read a tape measure, you know how to fabricate. And you're like, man, I want to build this or I want to build that and I want to sell it. That's the fun stuff. That's what motivates you to want to get in the shop.
That's probably what even got you to do the business in the beginning.
It's like, man, this is so fun.
Yeah.
And then when people would come and, going back to the first smoker we built and how exciting it was for them to see it and use it and send pictures, it's like, yeah, this is it. Outside of the fun stuff, the creative stuff, the building, what was all the other things that overwhelmed us in the beginning?
The customer service, the emails, the phone calls, all into the night. Didn't matter what time it was happening all the time.
Right. The emails especially, just we were generating the leads.
Right.
But now how do we follow up on these leads?
We were doing a ton of custom work.
Yeah.
So it was back and forth with the proofs and email, just the communication.
Right.
But not just one order at a time. It was a lot of orders at a time. It was a lot of juggling all into the night.
Yeah, the phones would never stop.
It was a lot of burnout. A lot of burnout that happened there.
And then what were the signs that we were
just lack of motivation. We get sick. I mean, remember, gosh, it was around the Christmas time rush. I got so sick because we were in the plasma room, the welding, the fumes, just, even though we had fume extraction, my body was done.
Yeah.
I ended up in the hospital with pneumonia, sicker than ever. That's the sickest I've been in a long time, but we got sick a lot.
We were getting sick often.
Yeah.
That was something that, and then lack of motivation, something that was so exciting, but yet it's like I was waking up in the mornings just like, oh gosh, here we go. I'm back in the shop.
Well, because we'd be working once we had our family time and the kids went to bed, it was back in the shop again that same night.
Yep.
And it was burnout, irritability. I mean, we were.
Yeah, it definitely.
There was tension between us for sure because he was burnout, I was burnout. We were short tempered. It was like, are you going to get this done? Like, yes, I'm getting this done. Like, I've been trying to get this done or, whatever it was. But yeah, definitely stressful. But I think communication is the most important part when it comes to this whole business thing, especially if you're working with someone else like we are. Communicating.
It wasn't fun anymore.
No, because
that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun anymore. And even if a customer or a client would stop by the shop, I feel like I think it would affect the business in ways because I don't know, you could feel the tension.
Yeah.
Because it was, especially when you were getting focused on a task and you were trying to get a task done, and then a customer would show up or a client would show up, which is supposed to be so exciting.
Yeah,
hey,
absolutely.
Here's a customer. Awesome. Hey, man. But it's kind of like,
come take a tour of our little shop.
Yeah. But it was just kind of like, what do you need? Like, and especially in a local business, I think people can pick up on that. And then it's real easy for them to go, man, yeah, I stopped over there, but they were kind of grumpy or they didn't want to, they couldn't fit me in right away, or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But it was it was tough.
Yep. It's a real thing. Burnout, work life balance, family, it's hard.
Yep.
It has gotten easier, but the only reason it's gotten a little bit easier is because we've gotten to the position where we've hired some people
Yeah.
to
But it started off.
yes.
It,
The hardest times are definitely in the first
3 years.
3 years or so.
I said
for
2 years earlier.
I
But,
know. When you said 2 years, I was like, "Are you sure?" I think it
yeah,
was more
because we
about
just
3.
didn't. We didn't have enough. We didn't have enough money wasn't coming in to where we could
There
put.
wasn't a consistency, so it was stressful.
Yeah.
And when you're not making the sales, when you're not making the numbers every week or month or day, like that is, I mean, anxiety. You remember when you thought you were having a heart attack?
Yeah. There's a
And
video on TikTok
there's a
about that.
video about that. So Jason,
I
we're
thought
in the shop. Yeah,
yeah, it's over.
we're in the shop. I mean, it was a stressful time. I mean, looking back, well, not even looking back. We know it was from anxiety.
Yeah.
But
That's what the doctor told me.
but your lungs were kind of, weren't they?
There was inflammation around the
Inflammation in
lining.
lungs
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, Jason did it overnight in the hospital. I took him to he got took by ambulance to the emergency room in La Crosse and did all the tests on him.
Yeah.
And turns out it was anxiety, but it was for real.
And the next day,
It was
I got out of the hospital, showed up here the next day, and I had to go right back at it because that's the thing when you start
when you miss a day,
you miss a day. And so just imagine the impact on your health because you can't take like if you take a day off, nothing happens in the shop. You're the only one.
And you feel guilty. You feel so guilty if you're not doing something for the business. And I think that's the hardest part about the work-life balance, family, because this sounds horrible, but sometimes when you're playing with your kids or doing stuff with your kids, the entire time you're like, okay, I gotta, you're running through this checklist in your head. Like, what did I do today? What didn't I do today? What do I need to do tomorrow? Oh, material. I forgot to order material. Next thing you know, you're on your phone, you're ordering material, you're doing something related to the business. And you're like, oh, I have totally just missed the entire story like my kid was telling me because I am so lost and still in the business. So I think it's setting boundaries, trying to get a schedule or a time that's non-negotiable, like this is your personal time. But we still struggle with that.
Yeah, we still struggle with that. It's
something we are actively working on. I don't think it's not going to happen overnight. I think we're gradually getting better at our personal time. But we're still working on this. We are not experts at this whole work-life balance thing for sure. We're still learning. We're still trying to figure it out. But
unless maybe you have, unless you can start off right away by hiring people, maybe you have the finances. But when you don't, and every dollar depends on, it's tough, and everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to understand what the goals are. I would definitely give yourself 3 years.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say, I would say like more recently in the last year, we've really had to like put our foot down as like, what do we say yes to do and what do we say no to do? We've had to learn to say no to projects because for the first 4 years of our business, we said pretty much yes to everything.
We had to. Or did we have to? Yes, I did. I felt like we had to.
Yeah, but in turn, it made us even have more anxiety and more stress and made us more irritable because we said yes to so many things, we overloaded ourselves. And that's something we are learning to do. I mean, we've had to say no to people on custom projects, but I think we're doing them a favor because I don't think we would be 100% dedicated to them taking on certain custom projects. We can take on some, we have taken on some, but we've learned that we can't, being in what we're trying to do right now. Production of products and trying to get a consistent product line is very hard to say no, but it's something we have learned we have to do or we will run ourselves into the ground.
Well, and then I also think when we really started analyzing our products and really looking at and being very truthful
Looking at numbers.
and looking at
Yeah.
numbers and realizing, um, man, it's not worth throwing this in the mix. When I should just stay focused on this
Right.
because working on this
This is really working. This is struggling to work.
and you get better at it
Yeah.
and you get more efficient when you're doing the same thing over and over, and then that kind of starts freeing up some time
Mm-hmm.
compared to how we did it the first few years, which anything that came through that door we would take it, and then sometimes you had to think about it. Sometimes I didn't have quite the right tool to do the job, so I had to make something, or which took a lot of time. And
Or pinch pennies to buy that tool.
yeah,
Find
and
a used tool.
you can't charge the
Jason.
customer for that. And yeah, so a lot of learning in the first few years, trying to balance work and our personal life. And to this day, people are going to argue with this, but I'm not sure how we could have done it different, because if we would not have taken on the jobs and did those jobs, we wouldn't have had the income. And then without the income, we would not have been able to make things better.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then we hire our first employee.
Yes. And then the hiring, obviously, you get better at delegating and trusting your employees, and, you know,
It's
that
how much,
that
yeah,
takes a workload off of you, but in turn, you're able to work on things to grow your business, work on the business.
yeah.
There's a really good book I have to bring up, because this is something book we actually didn't read until probably 4 or 5 months ago. But business owners, entrepreneurs, and you may have heard of this book before, but Buy Back Your Time by
Hmm.
Dan Martell. Such a great book. It really opens your eyes to what you need to be focusing on as a owner of a company. And I think that has also just kind of changed our minds, like made us realize, okay, should I be doing this or should I be delegating it to somebody else? And it's thinking about those things, and it really wakes you up.
Right. It starts opening to be an owner of a business. I feel like you have to be a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you become a good leader is you have to start taking these steps. Just like anything else, you have to practice, and you have to learn, and you have to just
Yeah.
get better at it. And
Yes.
until you get your first employee, you don't have that opportunity to.
Right.
Because I know what doesn't work. What doesn't work is being a hard ass. What doesn't work is being down their throat. Like, you didn't get this done, I could get that done. I mean, I remember that was one of,
Micromanaging.
yeah, micromanaging. As a leader, you have to be willing to share your experience, share your knowledge, um, show them how to keep things up to the standards that you want to stand to represent you and your business. Um, it's a big learning curve for
Yeah.
sure, but it does allow you to have time to do other things to help you grow the business, more valuable things to do
Mm-hmm.
to grow the business.
Another thing, like maybe a lot of you listening already have this as something you do, but a calendar, our Google Calendar, like I know it sounds so silly, but like just putting stuff in there, reminding yourself to do things, meetings, whatever. Like we didn't start implementing that till probably like a year ago.
Right.
And it's like now I can't not have my calendar. In fact, even as far as the family, work life balance and the family, I even have a whole calendar up in the house. The kids, like, we do activities, they get rewards, they do their chores. I know this is kind of a little off subject, but it is the way we're able to
It's
have
all
fun with the kids, hang out with them, play games, chores, make meals, and we have a whole household calendar for them too, which is really fun. But that's a little off subject, but I know some people were asking in the comments about family and how we handle with kids. But we've opened it up a lot more doing these things we're talking about to be able to
And
manage the family
I
life.
still think it comes down to those. When it comes to the family, is your partner has to be on the same page as you. The entire family, because the entire family, even though the kids weren't in the business necessarily working, it's a family business and it affects them
Yeah,
no
100%.
matter what. So you have to.
Well, we had plenty of days, too many days, I'd have to admit, that it was like, kids, you're just going to have to, why don't you get on your iPads and watch your iPads for a while we finish doing this or do an email or finish a phone call. I mean, it is reality. We're not going to sit here and say, oh, our kids are over there
Reading
reading books
and they're
and doing everything on their own, because there are days where it's like that. But it's gotten better, and
and it's getting better because
getting better.
reading that book was one thing, understanding
What your time is worth.
right, and our goal, if you're gonna define what our goal was in the beginning, it was freedom. That is why we weren't out here trying to get rich.
Right.
We wanted to be able to pay the bills, but we wanted the freedom. So, I mean, everything we're saying here almost sounds depressing.
No.
And we're not trying to scare anyone
No.
with doing that, but I think you need to be aware. Like I said, talking to other business owners, everyone that has started a company or built a company, they all have very similar stories of how hard it was in the beginning. Work life balance is always something that comes up, and everyone pretty much has the same story, even though the initial goal, the reason why we started the business was we wanted freedom. We wanted more time.
Mm.
And those first 3 years, there's definitely not extra time.
No.
But it gets better.
Right. It does.
It does get better. If you stay consistent, you have to stay at it. You have to put in the work. There's no.
But let's keep in mind, like, the stress and the anxiety, there's always going to be some, like, we're in new territory kind of now, in a sense of, bigger and better things in the business are coming up, and we're having to make some huge decisions. Like, I think the level of work-life balance changes a little bit from physically doing the work,
Yeah.
grinding away in the shop late nights, building the products, welding, then office work and customer service, to now, okay, we have somebody handles most of the customer service and the welding and getting the products made and shipped out the door. And now it's not like we're free of doing anything.
Right. I mean,
nothing. We have still a lot of big things that we have to do in the business. It's not like it just.
But what can happen now is, if you're comparing year 1, 2, and 3,
right,
to this is our 7th year. Yeah, we're going into our 7th year. We have the more freedom because we've built a team.
Yes.
And our team, starting from Abby to where we're at now, we built the team as we went. We had to learn how to build a team, and we're still learning how to build a team.
Right. I think what we're trying to say is, like, we would not be here right now,
Right,
even doing a podcast, if it wasn't for having the team that we have now.
We can schedule a weekend to go to the water park.
Yep.
And know that things are handled. We're still at work every day. We're still overseeing. We're still solving problems. But the team is getting better at solving problems themselves. The thing is, like, there's a boat in the water. We try to have the team handle all the problems that are above the water line, or we try to train them, like, especially with Amber, our manager, and where if it's above the water line, hopefully they can solve it themselves and figure it out. Get us involved whenever there's a hole below the water line. They have to, and then it's learning to make that decision of, like, how critical is this?
Right. Do we need to get Jason and Miranda for this, or is this something we can handle?
Yeah, and sometimes the problems can be simply um, it's $50 at the hardware store to solve a problem, and they have to have that freedom to say, okay, I'm gonna go to the hardware store and buy this thing
To solve the
to
problem,
solve
right?
this problem, and that's a whole other side of business when you're trying to develop a team and create a culture
Right.
in this, like things, something we started doing recently is like every Thursday an employee, so we pay for all the meals,
All the
all the ingredients,
yeah.
and someone on the team cooks a meal. So they can either use the pellet smoker, they can use an offset smoker, they can use a rocket stove, however they want to do it.
Little fire pit.
They
Yeah.
can use however they want to do it, but they're given that day to cook a meal for lunch for everybody on the team, and little things like that are fun.
Yeah, Mark made lasagna.
Yeah, Mark did
Put
some
that put
lasagna
that
one
in the
day.
pellet smoker. It was good. A
Yep,
little smoky and a little yeah. But that's been fun.
yep,
And it is fun. But it's definitely creating that team has definitely helped with the work life balance. And I think
that comes in
that's a
time.
goal, yeah.
But it's also like at some point, I don't know what the number would be, but at some point you have to decide, like, is this working? Um, like let's say someone does this. I mean, at 3 years we were gonna shut the shop down, and I was getting my old job back, and it was just a matter of we had some orders come in kind of at the last minute that made us stay, and of course getting on social media, but when you start, you throw marketing in there, you start throwing all that stuff in the beginning, and if you're not able to create the sales, if you're not able to generate leads, and you you have to you do an evaluation of, like, okay, this isn't working because um do I keep going with this, or do I change my approach, or so you have to be willing to change for sure. um
Yeah, we had to change things in our business to help with our mental load. This
Absolutely.
I mean, we had to cut out signs completely for a while. Hopefully we get them back, but that's reality. Sometimes doing what you think was like, this is what we're going to do, this is what we do. No, look at the numbers. Maybe not. I think we should focus on the rock but those products, the rocket stoves, were really hitting it off for us. So it was kind of like, you know what, we should probably turn all our focus to that. But that's something that you look at in your own business, whatever you're doing, and decide if what you're doing is burning you out. Looking at those numbers on what you're selling or what you're making sometimes can determine if it's worth putting all your time and energy into that thing. And that the science was one of those things for us at that time.
I think it's a good measure because you're going to be burnt out, you're mentally going to be stressed. You're going to be wanting to keep customers happy. You've got your vendors to deal with because your vendors are going to be calling you and saying, "Hey, man, all that welding wire you charged last month is time to pay it." You've got your vendors to deal with. It is stressful. You need to just look at your business as a whole, look at the numbers, make sure things are working. Like, you selling this product at this price, does it pay yourself and your business to make this product and sell it at this price? Um, don't make the mistake of trying to drop your prices. Don't race to the bottom, I guess would be what I'm trying to say
That's
there.
it.
Don't race to the bottom. You need to be realistic, and then you really need to focus on setting it up so that it costs you less to make that product. And that's new tools. Maybe it's a better setup. Maybe it's a better system. Whatever it is.
You have to evolve.
Yep.
Yeah, and you have to try to put all your money. Like we sacrificed a lot of money out of our money, say from the business paying Jason and Miranda, and put it all back at tools.
Yeah.
Like
Because it
we
costs
lived as
a
minimal
guy.
as we can
Yeah.
possibly live.
A guy building. I'm just going to use rocket stoves as an example. Building 10 rocket stoves costs a lot more than building 30 rocket stoves in a day. And we had to learn that and understand that and develop the systems and put these things in place so that it would all work out for us.
So sometimes it's just looking at your tools, looking at what you have, because signs could have been easier and could have kept going if we would have had better equipment and better things. So maybe your signs or maybe your thing does sell well, but it's hard or it takes a long time. Maybe you just got to look at your process.
I mean, this isn't the telltale of how everyone's experience is going to be, but it's definitely just kind of giving you a little insight on how it was for us. We had no financial capital in the beginning. Everything that we started our business with was with the money that we had saved up to go out on our own and start a business. That money runs out quick, especially when you're trying to set it up. It's stressful. It's hard. There's an impact on your relationships, especially with the family. And I think if you go in there with a set goal, our goal was we wanted more time, but understanding that this is expected, understanding do it better than we did, and read books and talk to other entrepreneurs and start developing systems early because we didn't.
We did not.
We were building one rocket stove at a time. Like we start developing systems. Look at making less in your pocket and focus more on things that you can put money into the business side to improve the business and improve your efficiencies. We're not trying to scare anyone here, but I think there should be somewhat of a reality to it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you just have a bunch of money to start off. Like if you go to the bank and the bank's like, yeah, we'll give you a few million. Go ahead and start your business.
Yeah.
Maybe it won't be as stressful. Like you start off, hire a manager and just say, yeah, this is what I want to do. But if you're just starting from scratch, that's how it was for us. And I don't know, take it or leave it. I don't know. I just want to share this experience with people. I want them to understand that.
Yeah, because maybe you're going through this right now. And just know, like, we've been there and you can come out of it.
Yeah. And it's real easy to, like, when you're feeling down and out, like your motivation is gone, even though it's your business and you love it, it's real easy to, I call it splurge. Like you get this instant gratification. Right. Like maybe you go out and buy a new thing. Like it's easy to go and say, man, I need a new truck for my business or something like that, you know? Yeah. And you go out and you buy a new truck and the new truck is for your business, you know, oh, it's for my business, but there's a huge financial impact on your business. It gives you a sense of you feel good for a little while, mm-hmm. but then reality is going to check back in about a week. So keep that stuff in mind. Go out there, knock it out, but just know what we're trying to say.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to wrap up episode 6 here. Again, please leave comments if there's anything in particular you would like us to discuss. We do plan on having guests in the future. It hasn't lined out just yet, but that is going to be something, talking to other entrepreneurs, other like-minded folks, and we look forward to doing that as well. Big shout out to our sponsor, Chiasson Smoke. And don't forget, chiassonsmoke.com. You can find out if you're looking for contacting us or anything like that. All of our information is there, but that's what I have.
That's it.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you. Bye.